Hi there, and welcome to the Joe Roberts podcast. In today's podcast, I want to talk a little bit about solitude versus loneliness. They're not one and the same. Solitude is simply time spent alone, whilst loneliness is something that you experience whilst spending time alone. It is possible in this lifetime to spend time alone and enjoy it, and in some cases actually find it quite fulfilling. But a common experience in this world is to feel lonely and deprived when you're spending time by yourself. So that's what I want to talk a little bit about in this podcast, the difference between the two states of being. So solitude in and of itself is not harmful. What you experience whilst you are alone can be negative or can feel negative. So the degree of comfort with acceptance of and enjoyment in your time spent alone directly correlates to your level of self-awareness, self-acceptance and self-engagement. Firstly, there's nothing wrong with wanting company in the same way that there's nothing wrong with solitude. Both are very valid states of being. However, they both have light and shadow aspects, and I'd like to talk a little bit about that just now. So, the light aspect of time spent alone is contentment with your own solitude, general contentment, fulfillment with it, a sense of fulfillment in general, and enjoyment as regards the activities that you spend your time doing whilst alone, or even just enjoyment at doing nothing and spending time in the peace and quiet relaxing. A lot of people enjoy that. The shadow aspect of time spent alone is shame and isolation, as well as disconnection from one's own self and therefore others. The light aspect of time spent in a company is connection, enjoyment and curiosity about other people. The shadow aspect of time spent with others is codependency, desperation, clinginess, and a sense of lack and fear of one's own self. So, when you're alone, you have to fully face yourself, which is why so few people choose this path to any degree. I've known people who have literally never spent a day alone in their entire life and who start one romantic relationship before finishing another, because to spend any significant amount of time alone is to improve one's own self-awareness and face oneself, whether deliberately or otherwise. There's a world of difference between solitude and loneliness. Solitude can be richly rewarding, fulfilling and happy, whilst loneliness is painful, frightening and imbued with a sense of lack and not enough. If you figure out what you enjoy doing in life and what makes you happy and you dedicate your life to this, it will become immaterial whether you have company whilst doing it or not. Examples in my own life, because I spend a lot of time alone and enjoy doing so. Examples in my own life include walking, which is something that I enjoy doing either solitary or with other people. Music, which I very much enjoy doing alone. Reading, which I enjoy doing alone, and watching movies, which I enjoy doing both alone and with people. And there are any number of examples like this. There are so many activities that I enjoy doing whilst spending time by myself, and when I find myself doing them with others, it's really just a sort of added bonus type of thing. So two people can experience a solitary experience in two entirely separate ways. And I'll give you an example of this from my own life. And I know from my own personal experience with it, and also observing and listening to other people's experience of it, that you can experience this particular thing in two entirely separate ways. So there's a scenario whereby you are out in public in a place like a cafe or a bar or a restaurant, dining out by yourself. So I'll give you two examples, person one and person two, and you'll see that these two examples are vastly different to each other. So in this scenario of sitting in a cafe, having a meal or a drink by yourself, person one feels calm, relaxed, peaceful, fulfilled, interested, introspective, enjoys people watching, might perhaps spend time reading or doing puzzles, and gains enjoyment and pleasure from the food that they're eating. Person 2 feels a sense of paranoia, a sense of shame, is triggered, and their core beliefs are triggered. Beliefs such as there's something wrong with me, I must be a bad person. They rush the meal that they're having and the drink that they're drinking. They feel self-conscious, they feel exposed, they feel like restless, and they may even feel a sense of restlessness and boredom. This is a common complaint of people as regards spending time by themselves. Oh, it's boring. That's subjective. I've just explained how. So you can take any scenario, whether it's cafe, cinema, pub, restaurant, just at home by yourself, and two people can experience that particular thing in two entirely different ways. So seeking out the company of others is only one response to loneliness. So if you are somebody that's experiencing loneliness, there's lots of different ways that you can actually respond to that, not just the obvious go-to response for our society, which is to seek out the company of others, although at a certain level that's a perfectly valid response to that. But another is to embark on things like self-discovery, self-growth, self-inquiry, self-exploration, and prioritising your happiness and making it the most important thing in your life. So figuring out what makes you tick, figuring out the things that you enjoy most in life. If you manage to figure out what the most important thing in your life is, what things matter to you the most, and you prioritise those things in your life, you cannot help but notice the results in your life. And if you tread this path, then the company of others can be viewed as an added bonus and the icing on the cake, rather than the number one priority in your life. So those are a few insights that I have on the subject of solitude versus loneliness. I hope this has been interesting or insightful to somebody somewhere. If you've enjoyed this or any of my other content, please give it a like, subscribe, share, etc. Bye for now, and thanks for listening.